When he originally wrote the X-Men, he did not have Martin Luther King and Malcolm X.
It's about time we let the narrative die that Stan Lee based Magneto and Charles Xavier off of Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. because it's not true. I actually wanted to make this video for Black History Month, and then I was like, let me not. And then I forgot about it, and Frankie just reminded me with this video. So if you haven't seen Fantastic Frankie's video, go back and watch, like, share, comment, and interact for the algorithm. Look, when it comes to comic books, Stan Lee is a legend, and his influence and legacy will live on centuries after we're no longer on this planet. But everything that we know about the X-Men did not come from him. As a matter of fact, when Stan Lee was writing the X-Men, nobody liked it, and it got canceled. So virtually everything that we know about the relationship between these two and the level of nuance that came into the story with regards to X-Men came from this man right here, Chris Claremont. And Chris Claremont himself said that Xavier and Magneto are to be compared to Israeli political rivals at the time, David Ben-Gurion and Menachem Begin. And don't just take my word for it. Everything that I'm saying has been written about by other people as well. And yes, I do believe Stan Lee did come out and say decades later that he based Xavier and Magneto off Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X. But Stan Lee is great at selling Stan Lee. And so he said that after the idea had already become popular. Because again, when Stan Lee was writing the X-Men, Magneto wasn't even a Holocaust survivor. He was just a regular megalomaniacal villain. He had no nuance to his character. And not only just that, but to be perfectly honest, comparing Xavier to Martin Luther King Jr., honestly, I think does a huge disservice to the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. Yes, Martin Luther King Jr. wanted black people and white people to be able to live together peacefully, and Xavier wanted mutants and humans to be able to live together peacefully, but that's where the comparison ends. Martin Luther King had no problems making white people feel uncomfortable and calling them out with the letters to Birmingham jail. He had no problem speaking for black liberation, black reparations, making the political establishment fully uncomfortable. But Xavier, yeah, he's for mutant rights, but he's for human comfortability over everything else. He's all about toning down his mutantness to make humans feel comfortable. As a matter of fact, he didn't come out as a mutant until well he was into his like 40s. Even Krakoa era Xavier is still above human comfortability over everything else because he listened to Orchis and potentially killed, or at least he thought he did, millions of mutants because Orchis said so. But Cyclops, even when his life was on the line, he was still like, no, screw y'all. Even Magneto had to warn Storm against Xavier in his desire to appeal to humans by saying he is a good man, Aurora. We must be wary of good men. For what will they not do to show how good they are? Watch him. So he's basically all respectability politics. That's not Martin Luther King Jr. My mutual, Professor Neil, also talked about this on his page maybe like a year ago, so check that. And that's also why we should have more oppressed groups, black, brown, people of color, disabled, writing and drawing the X-Men book.